Hi, I'm Ellis George, play Courtney Woods, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast.
The tangents this week continue all the way to episode 197 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast, and Gen Con 2018 is coming on. We laughed, we cried, we spent money, our feet hurt. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week on the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Bethlehem.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Chrissy was unable to join us. She's getting ready to go on the family trip, so she's otherwise indisposed. That being said, though, we are not alone. So give a big hello and welcome back to Beth from the Crafty Nerd.
Hello, everyone.
And also my work, but we don't care about that. So Beth and I both attended Gen Con. And we had some similar experiences. We were together for some of it, and then we were separate for some of it. So she'll be able to give a different experience than me. A different perspective.
Hopefully your Gen Con experience involved more comfortable shoes on Saturday than mine did. Oh my god.
Yes.
Those Sailor Moon boots destroyed my feet.
I was wondering how long you're going to keep those on.
I had them.
I saw the pictures. Ooh.
Well, the parade was at 3, so...
Yeah, I took a break from the shoes for maybe 15-20 minutes around lunchtime because I was just, especially going out on concrete with those things, it's just painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I was in them from about 10 to 4. Yeah, it was rough.
The things we do for cosplay.
They don't make any Joe inserts for those shoes. They should.
They should.
Yeah, I gotta try to find some for next year because otherwise...
stuff them full of Dr. Scholl's.
Yeah.
Come on! But we will get to our tales of Gen Con here shortly. First, we got a little bit of news. So first up, speaking of conventions, Salt Lake Fan X, which is coming up really quickly in a few weeks. I'm sure Chrissy is like, if she was here, she'd be like, by one, because of the guest announcement, and two, how close it's coming. But Salt Lake Fan X has announced Drax himself, Dave Bautista.
Ooh, that's so exciting.
Yes. So if you walk by and you don't see him, he may be standing really, really still.
Yeah.
So if you're like, I thought Dave Bautista was supposed to be here, you just got to be like, hey, Bautista, and see if he reacts. If he suddenly appears, just shake.
What would happen if you tried taking a picture with him?
You'd have to hope. You'd have to be like, just move just a little bit, but not so much it ruins the photo. Just hold up a bag of Zarg nuts and be like, "Here, Drax." Can you tell I rewatched? Can you tell I rewatched Infinity War since it came out on digital?
Yep.
Just a little. So there's that.
FYI, the feels are still there.
Oh yes.
Yes. We haven't lessened.
Yes. It's like I have not seen this movie.
Commentary doesn't help.
Yeah, I have not watched it with the commentary yet. I need to. So I should make sure I have the commentary ready to go. So if it rains while I'm camping, I've got that as an entertainment backup. So remember to do that. So there is that. The Salt Lake Fan X, their guest list is like, woo! It is up there. So alrighty then, the crowds are going to be interesting. Good luck, Chrissy. Hold on to that child so you don't lose him.
Tiny, shine your way to the front of the line.
Yeah. It's when you use Tiny and just how adorable he is to be like, Moses parting the sea. And speaking of conventions and other things, if you've seen already on our Facebook and our Instagram, I know I posted this, but the voting is open for the Best Things in Indie competition thing that the Indie Star is doing. And we've got a few friends of the show that are nominated in some categories. Best Local Podcast, Cult Cinema Cavalcade, Brandon and Cullen. That's pretty exciting. Best Local Band or Musical Artist, The Shakeups. Best Convention, Indie PopCon. And Best Social Media Personality, Tony from Geeking in Indiana. So voting is open until August 15th. You can vote once a day, every day. And all it takes is just a valid email address. And you're not going to get inundated with emails or anything from when they start. And you don't have to be from Indy to vote. So go vote for those people because they're awesome. I'm a bit sad that Who North America did not get a finalist for Geeky Place to Shop. But what are you going to do?
Maybe next year.
We tried. We tried. I'm sure they were close. At least I'd like to think so. I have no idea what the numbers were like. I'm just going to assume that they were really close and missed it by like that much. You know. So yeah, maybe next year. We shall see. So go do that. Follow the link on our Facebook or wherever. Or I know Cult Cinema Cavalcade, they're posting like every day on their Facebook page, and theirs is like a direct link. So all you have to do is, if you've already voted once and entered your email address, it should remember as long as you're on the same device, and you can just click on their direct link and it'll automatically register your vote for them. So if you're lazy or something, there you go.
I never really looks like a lot of cities do these things, and I never really looked at them. I never realized how random these categories can be.
Yes.
Different.
Yeah. If you look at it, some of them are a bit random, and there's a lot of nominees in pretty much every category. So you go to the website, and you kind of have to do a little bit of scrolling to get to the categories that we want you guys to vote for. But it'll be so worth it. Because all these people are awesome. So, and then our last bit of news, speaking of awesome people, but have no connection to Indiana whatsoever, at least that I'm aware of, is for all our Star Trek fans out there. It has been in the rumor mill for a little while, but now it is official that Sir, because, you got to give him his proper title, Sir Patrick Stewart, Captain Jean-Luc Picard himself, is returning to TV as Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Yay! I'm so excited about this.
Me too.
I need more Jean-Luc Picard in my life.
Same here. Now, it makes me wonder if Jean-Luc's coming back. Does that mean we're going to get a certain super powerful being coming back?
Maybe.
Oh, I hope so. That would be nice. I'm also hoping for some Worf. I love Worf. Worf.
Certain number one,
Even when he's not a merry man.
certain android, certain
certain
engineers. Yes, exactly. So it's possible.
Want the entire cast. That's all we're asking.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
it's
just
like
TNG Part 2. There we go.
pretty much.
Cameos here and there.
Yeah. So, for better or for worse, the series is going to be on CBS All Access. Of course. Because that's what CBS is
Maybe
going
I'll
to do.
give them money.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so our captain, he made the official announcement on his social medias. He says he's excited and invigorated to return to the role. And I guess it was at Star Trek Las Vegas that they made the official announcement. And he did give the caveat that it may not be the Jean-Luc you know and love, citing experience and time as changing factors in development of the character, because this will take place 20 years after the events of Star Trek Nemesis.
Well, that makes sense, though. I mean, time's
Yeah.
going to pass. People
Yeah.
change. I mean, if he was the exact same person, then there might be some time continuum stuff at play there.
Yes.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
how did you get 20 years in the future being exactly the same?
Yeah, although he looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he does.
And if surely Picard's a good Picard, I'll take it.
Yeah, really.
I'll take any Picard I can get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a dream. Father a certain other sir that he likes to pal around with and have him make a cameo too.
Yes, yes. I'm all for that. That would be awesome. We need Sir Ian McKellen on Star Trek. Yes, that just needs to happen.
It
Ooh,
could.
he could play Q's dad.
That would be fun, though. I would
That
love.
would be interesting.
Yeah.
If not Q's dad, I mean, some sort of former pal or something.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, speaking of Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, I have a tiny bit of fun trivia for you. Did you guys know I actually got to see them both on Broadway a couple of years ago in Waiting for Godot?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I even got my playbook signed by Ian
Nice.
McKellen.
Nice.
Like, I'm like, I touched Gandalf's hand. But yeah, I got to be in the same building with both of them, and I'm like, okay, I can die happy now.
And a speedy recovery to Sir Ian McKellen. It sounds like when he was doing King Lear, he had a little bit of a boo-boo with moving funny and spraining a leg muscle or something, according to his Instagram. So,
Uh-oh.
That
Yeah.
doesn't sound fun.
no, so speedy recovery.
Need.
Because he said he's hoping to be up and back into commission when the next date is for the play. So,
I was kind of mad about the Broadway because that was a time when I wasn't even living close by. I was like on almost the entire other side of the country. It's like, really? When I moved away,
Like, this is a thing that happens not near me.
Yeah, it involved a long drive to and staying with my ex-in-laws because I was still married to my ex-husband at that point. But it involved a long drive out to Long Island and then staying with my ex-in-laws. But it was so worth it because Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen.
Yeah. Like, yes, please, thank you.
Yes, 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 I will do this.
So that is it for the news. So that's it. Kind of slow, which is good because we've got a lot to talk about.
Well, there's a lot of Gen Con is just so big. I didn't even
my
experience
goodness.
all of it.
Well, you can't. You just
Yeah.
can't. It's not possible at all. So
Exactly.
we'll get into specifics. Like, we'll go day by day, I guess, because that would be easiest. Here.
Yeah, that sounds like a good
Yeah,
idea.
because that's the way
now, is
everything.
it
That's the
getting
way I
to
have things
almost
written
San
down.
Diego Comic-Con, or is it still low enough?
Well, given that the line for will call for like picking up badges and stuff stretched all the way out to Lucas Oil Stadium
At one
from the
point.
convention center it was like around noon on Thursday
Yeah.
that the
Holy
line was
cow.
out there. It took people 2 hours to get through the line, so I think everybody found out about the well-kept secret that was will call, and now it is not a well-kept secret anymore.
Yeah,
Yikes.
apparently, or something. So, but
Yeah, it makes me very glad we went and picked up all of our stuff on Wednesday, Rachel.
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Yes, it's such a good
Now,
idea.
those who
So,
are listening to this, don't pass that on to anybody else.
yeah,
Yeah,
really.
don't do will call. Don't do will call.
Not if you can help it. So,
Not if you can help it.
Yeah, so-
International folks can't get their stuff mailed to them, unfortunately. So everybody leave will call for the people coming from out of the country.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you order your badge and sign up for events up to a certain, at least this year, up to a certain point, you could have your stuff mailed to you. And then they also did a lot of they switched to e-ticketing for
That's nice.
some of the event tickets as well. Because up until this year, any event you had to have the little paper tickets with the barcodes on them. And that was how you got into events. Even, well, free events, it kind of depends. So if it's not one where they're not going to hit room capacity, them collecting the tickets really is just an easy way for them to get a head count. The more popular events, even if they're free, you have to have your ticket.
Yeah, especially like book signings.
Yeah, book signings, the cosplay contest, some of the puppet program panels. You had to have your ticket just because they were filled, because they wanted to give priority to people who had tickets first. And if the room hit capacity, anyone who wanted to try and come in and didn't have tickets, sorry about your luck. So
they want to keep the fire marshals happy.
Exactly. So, but yeah, this year it was another sellout year. I got the press release. Beth, you probably did too.
Yep, I got it this morning.
Yeah, the post-show press release.
Some point.
Yes, joys of being press. But yeah, so it was a complete sellout again. They said more than 60,000 unique attendees were on site over the 4 days. They raised more than $50,000 for their official charities for the year, so that's good.
Awesome.
That's always good.
Yeah, so they had stuff going on Gen Con's Twitch.
Yeah, I
channel.
saw people going around with cameras, walking around and live streaming stuff, like in the dealer's hall even. They had somebody walking around live streaming the dealer's hall.
Yeah, and they said they had more than 300,000 unique viewers of their programming with more than 3 million minutes of watched footage on Twitch.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a big year, and this year, for not being a anniversary year, because last year was the 50th anniversary, so it was a big to do. Last year, it's like, oh, we're expanded to Lucas Oil Stadium. We're on the football field. There was just signage everywhere. You couldn't look anywhere without seeing a sign or a window cling or something that said Gen Con 50 on it. But the crowds weren't, to me, last year didn't seem that bad. I never had a moment where I'm like, oh my God, this is stifling. I need to get out of here. I need to get some air. I never had that problem last year. This year, for not being an anniversary year, Thursday, so first full day, I get into the dealer's hall after it already opened, and did my first press interview with a company, and then I had time to kill before my next one. I had to leave the dealer's hall and go find a wall outside of the dealer's hall and sit down and cool off and take a moment. Just the crowds Thursday morning were just ridiculous.
Yeah,
absolutely. And traffic was bad.
Wow.
I don't know if people caught wind of last year or what.
Yeah, I've got a video of everybody rushing in the beginning, when they opened up the dealer's hall on Thursday morning. I'm like, that is mesmerizing to watch and also kind of terrifying. I'm down there.
Yeah,
I'll be over here and let you guys all kill each other.
Yeah,
then I'll go in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was up on the second floor of where they have a good view of the downstairs area. I'm like, and there were still a ton of people up there too, just watching. I was wedged behind a plant, just recording stuff.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, and I try to avoid that. I try not to schedule anything right at that 10 a.m. when the dealer's hall opens, because I know how mad that is. But I don't know what it was, but the crowds were just bad Thursday morning, and traffic was bad.
Oh yeah, I have a traffic related story for you after we in a little bit, because it's just and
it's it was just. Thursday was just redonkulous, and the will call line was outside. It wasn't to Lucas Oil Stadium, but if you know the convention center, the West Street entrance, which is essentially across the street from Victory Field, that's the door that I go in because I'm coming from IEPY, because that's where I park. I park at work and walk, which thank goodness it was not stupid hot except for Sunday.
Oh, Sunday was the worst.
Yeah.
Heat-wise.
Yeah, but the rest of the week wasn't too bad. But the will call line, will call is actually on, I don't know what street that is. I live in Indy, I work in Indy. I don't know what all the street names are. I just know landmarks. But whatever that street is that runs perpendicular to West Street, that cuts in between the convention center and those connecting hotels, that heads towards the mall, the will call is actually almost to the far end of the convention center that's connected to Circle Center Mall. And so the line for will call is that end, comes all the way through the convention center, inside, out those doors at West Street, out to Victory Field, around the corner, back to Lucas Oil Stadium. But when I went by it Thursday morning, the line was to the docks, because the dock loading area is
the way you're describing
there.
it sounds like a family circle. Follow
A little bit.
Follow the footsteps.
Yeah, a little bit. We're very, Beth and I are very fortunate that, one, we have a job that's very flexible with us coming and going. So, like, she and Ross, came up from Bloomington, and we're like, okay, we're going to go get lunch, and then we'll go get badges, and we'll do will call pickup and all that fun stuff. So
that was a good idea, doing that all on Wednesday.
Yeah, so we were able to do that on Wednesday, and we can do, she and I can do badge pickup at Trade Day. They take the press badges and put them with the Trade Day folks. So we can go do that and then go get in the will call line, which, what Ross timed it was like 30 minutes?
Yeah, it was 30 minutes, and it stretched all the way to, like, Hall B, wasn't Hall B. You know where I'm talking about, though, like where the halls are lettered, like, where the rooms are lettered anyway. So it was stretched all the way out to the opposite side of the convention center, but still,
it wasn't to the door yet.
Yeah, and it moved pretty darn quickly. I was impressed.
Yeah, well, it helps you have people to talk to as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. But I have pictures from last year of Thursday around noon at will call, and it was empty. So, yeah, that's just. Yeah, Thursday at Gen Con was crazy.
Yeah.
But, like, you mentioned traffic earlier. My wonderful wig-making neighbor, Chris, actually was doing a wig panel at 2 o'clock on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
He missed it because of the traffic. He ended up getting stuck behind an accident. And the part of Bloomington, the part of 37 where it's one lane because of all the stupid I-69 construction, he made it to, like, we saw him hustling it to I think we were in the Marriott. I think we saw him running, like, heading to the Marriott after we got out of the panel, because one of his friends came in and kind of winged it for the entire hour miraculously. But we saw him after. He's like, yeah, I was just stuck in the worst traffic ever, and even when I got here, I couldn't find a spot to park. So yeah, I hope they don't get mad at me for missing my panel, because there's nothing I could do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was that bad.
That must have been what he was talking about when I saw him Friday at the beginning of the cosplay competition, because he was dressed as himself. He wasn't all Oriana out. He's like, I'm Oriana Perone, I'm a drag queen from Bloomington. I don't normally look like this. It's like I have not been in drag yet the entire time I've been here. It's a long story. You can talk to me afterward, but it involves a panic attack while sitting in traffic.
Oh, yeah.
That probably was what he was talking about.
Yeah. At least he seemed to perk up when he saw my wig actually on me, because he made the Sailor Moon wig I wore.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
He did an awesome job.
Yeah. I'll have to show you guys at some point the wig I gave him and the pieces that I gave him, and then just compare it because I got the wig pieces from Arta Wigs. I got a wig that's just, they call it the chibi. It's got the bangs and a set of pigtails that then either you can style the way you want or lop off the pigtails and stick Sailor Moon buns on the end. And I also got long clip-on curly ponytails because I wasn't sure if I waited too long to try and figure out wig stuff because Chris was dealing with a lot of stuff earlier in July, and I didn't know if he was going to be able to do stuff. So I'm like, no, I'm going to try and do this myself. And I could not get buns in that wig no matter how I tried, and I was terrified of cutting it because I didn't want to destroy it.
Because those wigs are not cheap.
No, they are not.
I have several Arta wigs. I know how much they cost.
yeah, and all the pieces together, yeah, it was pretty pricey. So like a week and a half before Gen Con, I'm like, Chris, I bought wig pieces. Can you turn this into Sailor Moon? It's like, oh my God, yes. So granted, he finished it the night before we left for Gen Con. He finished it like Tuesday, well, technically the wee hours of Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
But
Oh my goodness.
yeah, no, it's beautiful, and I love it to pieces, and I got so many compliments on that wig, and that was my dream Sailor Moon costume right there. I've been wanting to do this for like half my life.
You were very excited.
It turned out awesome.
Well, thank you.
I like when we walked back to your car after lunch and you showed me she was like carefully buckled in the back seat.
Well, that wig weighs like, it's got like 5 pounds of hair on it. It's
I know.
crazy. I'm just like trying to make sure it didn't flop out
Yeah.
of the back seat.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
surprised
heavy.
you didn't wind up with a headache from it being that.
My head was a little tired from carrying all that around, but the worst part was like the tiara dug into the sides of my forehead a little bit. That was that and the shoes were the worst parts, but I'm like, okay, cosplay is pain sometimes.
Yes.
As long as I'm not like getting blisters or destroying the back of my ankles like I did for a Sailor Jupiter cosplay once because my boots were bad, then I'll deal with it. And I did not end up wounded, so I'm good.
Yay.
Just sore.
So FYI to cosplayers, don't skimp on the shoes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, these shoes, they were expensive shoes. Don't skimp on the inserts. Get insert. Try on your boots, and not just to make sure that they fit. Wear them around the house. Wear them somewhere. See how they feel when walking. And if they're not comfortable, get some inserts. That's what I'm doing before next Gen Con. Because I'm going to wear that costume again. Because I put a lot of work into it, and I want to wear it all the time, so...
How long till Halloween?
Oh, I know. Actually, no, I need to get
You need to
inserts
wear her
before
to ITCE is what you
Yeah,
need
that's
to.
what I was going to say. I need to get inserts before ITCE because...
You got a little bit of time.
Yeah, 'cause I got a little bit of time, and I live next to a CVS, so I'll be good.
There you go. So, but yeah, no. If you're one of those, if you're fortunate that you like work downtown or close to downtown, and you got a job that's flexible, or you can take like a long lunch, and you need to pick up something from Will Call, do it Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, Will Call opens at noon. Just take your lunch, go get your stuff from Will Call, and then go on back.
Mm-hmm. You will be so glad you did. So
Exactly. You will not regret it.
yeah. Or at the very least, don't wait to the last minute to register for stuff so it can be mailed to you. So.
Yeah, in fact, I remember seeing on Wednesday Gen Con mentioned something that if you bought your badges or any event tickets after I think a week, if there was a cutoff of July 25th or something, if you'd gotten them after then, you need to come pick up your badges after 8 p.m.
because they weren't even printed.
Yeah, exactly, because so many people were using Will Call this year.
Which you would think with the switch to electronic tickets, you think it would have been better.
Yeah. But weirdly enough, none of my events used electronic tickets.
Yeah, mine didn't either.
Yeah, so it's kind of, it would have been great if we could have. I ran, one of the things I did on Thursday actually was I ran my first LARP ever, and definitely first LARP at Gen Con. And it would have been nice to just be able to just scan people's tickets as they came in instead of trying to corral everybody as they're coming in and make sure they're giving us their tickets before they pick up their character information and trying to just herd everybody and make sure we've got everybody's tickets. So
Yeah.
I hope they do more of the electronic tickets next year.
Yeah. At least, as far as our badges are concerned, we, if we can't get to trade day, we can still pick up our badges in the press room, which is still going to be significantly shorter wait.
Mm-hmm. Plus, they give you drinks there.
Yes.
Yeah, I visited the press room so many times for water because
I never made it into the press room. I never made it into the press room.
I managed to make it there every day. I just there would be just be a time where I'm like, I'm thirsty. The press room is open. Being press is thirsty work. I'm gonna go get some water.
Yeah.
And there was only one time when I went in there, and all that there was left was like one bottle of cranberry juice. I think that was Thursday, actually.
Oh, they've added juice then. Oh, see, I missed out.
Yeah, I think
it's usually soda and coffee, and then just water. And I'm like, I can get water out of the water fountain, so I carry a water bottle.
Supposed to help ward off colds. So.
Yeah.
they're trying to keep us healthy.
Yes.
Keep away the con crud.
Yep. So other than badge pickup and event pickup, you guys didn't really do anything other than go and check into your hotel.
Yeah, on Wednesday we did. Oh, we did go to the block party though, for a little bit anyway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was interesting. It was fun being able to hang out with a bunch of. It was a good start to Gen Con. There were a lot of people there. Everybody seemed to be in a good mood. All those tasty food trucks. The only thing that I wasn't too keen on was the band that was playing. I'm not sure which band it was, but they were a little too screamo metal for me in some spots. It was just not screamo metal, but there was some screaming and there was some really weird guitarness, and I don't know. It kind of
thrash metal.
Maybe. All I know is that they were playing too loud and their guitar was too screechy at some points, and I'm like, I can't handle this, Ross. I need to go back to the hotel room. If you want, you can hang out here. I'm gonna go back to the hotel room. And we had a hotel at the Omni Severin, which was practically right, one end of Georgia Street is the convention center and the other end of Georgia Street is the Omni. So it was the best hotel, I think, at least location-wise, that we could have gotten. Because I stayed at the JW Marriott 5 years ago because a friend needed some people to fill up his room because everybody that was originally going with him ended up dropping out of his room. So we stayed at the JW that year, and that was okay, but we still had to wander through so much Skywalk. But it just seemed so much quicker to just go down Georgia Street and then bam at the hotel. But yeah, it was kind of cool going to the block party. I got a cupcake and a cup because why not?
Yeah.
If there's cupcake trucks outside your door, you eat cupcakes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I got a cupcake and a cup from Gigi's Cupcakes, and then listened to some really loud music. But that was our Wednesday at Gen Con.
Yeah.
Thursday was busier.
Yeah. I ended up going back to work.
Yeah, I was thinking you probably ended up doing that.
Yeah, waiting to hear from Chauncey because I didn't know yet for sure if he was going to be showing at Trade Day or not. He ended up showing at Trade Day and then got so busy that he didn't get a chance to tell me until he'd been there for an hour. So okay, well, I'll come down. So I hustled my butt back over to the JW Marriott. I did the math the last night because in the Facebook group people were talking about, hey, if you wear a Fitbit, how much did you walk? I don't, but just according to Google Maps, it is a mile essentially from the building I work in to the Indiana Convention Center. So, we could just safely say a mile, on average, depending on which route I take exactly. Whether I take the gerbil tubes and how many times I cross the street and where I decide to cross the street and that sort of thing. If I cut through any hotels, we'll just say a mile. So just in the walking from essentially where I was parked to the convention center, not counting all the walking inside the convention center and to and from other buildings for other things, I walked at least 11 miles just to and from my car in the convention center over the course of from Wednesday to Sunday. So it's like, holy crap, that's a lot of walking.
I walked something like 30 miles according to my Fitbit.
Yeah.
Wow.
From Wednesday to Sunday, something like 30 miles.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hustled back over to the JW Marriott again.
You should get bonus miles for walking in those shoes.
Oh God, yeah, I
Yeah.
know, right?
Yeah. And
picture of footwear.
yeah. And went to go see Chauncey's setup because during trade day during the day it's a bunch of panels and it's supposed to be for educators and or game shop owners. So as Tony likes to call them, your FLS, your friendly local shop. So, and game designers. So it's for professionals is what it's for. It's why it's called trade day. So they have a lot of panels during the day, like how to gamify in the classroom and that sort of thing, or, shop owners, how to better, tap into your local customer base, that sort of thing. But then Wednesday night, they have, essentially like an open demo for a couple of hours in one of the ballrooms where some of the, gaming companies can bring in their their latest and greatest and show them off to the people attending trade day. So Chauncey had a connection to someone who said, hey, who knew about the hot air balloon demo that we showed at Starbase Indy last year and will be at the Indy Disney Meet in a couple weeks. FYI, for anyone who missed that announcement last week. So he was like, I know you've got the VR. VR is starting to become a thing in the gaming industry. Bring it. I want you. He's like, I'll get you. We'll find you a spot, and I want you to bring it and show it. So Chauncey did. I had never actually I'd done trade day and went to some of the panels. I'd never done the demo evening. If they do it like they have this year, I'm going to do it if for anything else for the free drink that I got. I walked in, they checked my badge, they're like, here's a drink ticket. I'm like, thanks. So
Sweet.
like, woo, free alcohol.
Nice.
Free alcohol. I'm all for it. But yeah, no, Chauncey had a nice steady stream of people. He said he showed it to like 30 people over the course of the 3 hours, I think, that the event was going on, including Carl from Indie PopCon. He texted me. He's like, Carl just tried it. I hadn't made it there yet, and then I ran into Carl, and Carl's like, oh yeah, it's awesome. So Carl thought it was cool. May end up at PopCon next year. We'll see. So that was pretty cool. And of course, Chauncey loves showing VR. And especially the something he built, but it's totally his element, talking about VR, answering questions about VR, showing people VR, playing with VR. So he really enjoyed it. All the people that I saw that tried it out really seemed to enjoy it. So that was awesome, and he gave me a ride back to my car, which was great. I did not have to walk back again, so that would have made for 12 miles. So thank goodness for that. So that was the first day of Gen Con, and then the first full day of vendor floor, panels, demos, blah blah blah. Of course, was Thursday, and as we said earlier, the crowds were huge, the lines were long, and I kind of was not happy to be inside.
No, I don't blame you. I ended up perusing the dealer's hall for a little bit before we went to Chris's panel, and then after Chris's panel, I had to run back to our room, change for the LARP that I was helping run, and then because of all the people and then me being nervous about it being my first LARP, I ended up having my very own panic attack. And yeah, that was fun to have before running a LARP. So one of the friends who was also helping run the game ended up helping me run my little section of it. So that helped, but it was still, I still had fun. The game we did was a City of Heroes themed LARP. For those of you who've ever played City of Heroes, it was a lot of fun. It was very nostalgia ridden. For those of you who haven't played City of Heroes, it's a MMO that was pretty popular. Gosh, I want to say in the not too early 2000s, but like it shut down in 2012. And people were really angry about that, myself included. And like I'd only been playing it for a year before it shut down, but some of my friends who helped run the game with me were playing for like something like 8 years. So it was very nostalgic, lots of fun. It was a superhero themed LARP, and some of us got really goofy at points. There was one guy at the table that I was running whose superhero name was the Spicy Taco. So, yeah, we had a lot of fun with that. There were even some kids who came to play too, which was really neat. But like we had like 2 parent and kid groups play. It was really neat, and it was for it being the first game that I've ever run ever, not just at Gen Con, but ever. It was actually a lot of fun because I'd never done that before. I've played a lot of tabletops, and I've played in a LARP, and so this one was an interesting hybrid of tabletop and LARP, so not quite full-on live-action role-playing, but it was still a lot of fun, and yeah, and that finished at 10 o'clock at night, so I was dead by the time that was over. I'm like, how am I still awake right now?
Yeah.
Because I was running on 4.5 hours of sleep, I think, maybe 5 hours or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not a lot of sleep. So, yeah, that was my Thursday.
Yeah. I had 3 press interviews. One of them was really short, actually, and ended up not getting recorded, although I had a really nice conversation that I don't want to jinx anything, and nothing's actually set in stone yet. But if you saw my post on Instagram, one of the companies I talked to, we may be doing a giveaway in the not so distant future because we're hitting a big epiversary.
I noticed.
Coming up
That's exciting.
soon. So, but I have to wait until said person gets back to the office in a couple days, because they are from the West Coast. So she's like, I'm leaving Monday. She's like, I'll get back to the office like Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm like, okay, I will hit you up then. So I will start that more official conversation. So might be exciting giveaway in the future for Star listeners. So watch this space for that. And then I spoke to a couple of gentlemen from a gaming company. They're fairly new, called Sensible Object. And they were showing a couple of their games. One is called Beast of Balance. And it is a combination of like physical media and a app on your tablet, and they interact with each other. Like the camera are the pieces. I don't know if the camera on your tablet actually does anything. I forgot to ask like how exactly like it connects to each other. I was just so like I was entranced by the colors and the idea of it that I was like, ooh, I like the colors. Shiny objects, I get distracted. Maybe not so shiny, just colorful things. I get distracted.
Maybe some sort of shape recognition program?
No, I was explaining it to Chauncey, and he thinks it's some sort of like probably RFID.
Okay.
Because there's a they call it the plinth. It's like this kind of like short tower thing with a flat top. And you can see on the front of it, it's got like, it kind of looks like a webcam with a little design on it. So it's like an RFID reader, I think, would be my guess. I'm sure some of the technology is probably somewhat proprietary, so they probably wouldn't give me all the secrets anyway. But it's got these pieces that are these different like mythological creatures. Some of them are mythological, some of them are like a whale, but they're really cool. It's all super like lightweight. I don't know if everything's like 3D printed. It kind of feels like it's like 3D printed because it's really lightweight material. Really bright, beautiful colors, like these bright pastels, really vibrant. Things like colors and shapes are some of the things that I like first catch notice of with a lot of like games and stuff. And art is, if I don't like the artwork, sometimes that will turn me off. Even if I would like the game, if I don't like the artwork, I don't want to look at it to play the game. So the fact that I really like the look of this already was like, okay, well, you at least got my attention. I'm going to look at it. But what you do is you use these characters and you scan them on the plinth, and then it feeds into the game happening on your tablet, and then the tablet does all the animation and the scoring and all that stuff that people find annoying that they have to do. So it automatically takes care of all that for you so that you can just focus on the gameplay. And your strategy and everything, which was really cool, and it's a game designed for all ages. So it's really, there's a cooperative version, and then you can fight against each other. You take the animals, and the animals have different abilities, and sometimes you have the ability to combine the animals into a new animal. So you could have like a whale combined with like a unicorn.
Oh, cool.
So
That sounds like
I was gonna say, isn't it a narwhal?
yeah, that really is kind of a narwhal, but so that was really cool. And then their other game is, and I'm blanking on the name of the game, and I don't mean for that to rhyme. I'm sorry. Something about Rome, I think. Hold on a second here. When in Rome. It's a trivia game where you fly around the world and you answer trivia questions about different cities around the world. However, all your trivia comes from, if you have a Amazon Alexa, it uses Alexa, and all the trivia comes from recordings of people from those actual cities. So
That sounds really cool.
So
honestly.
so they recorded people in those cities, asked them trivia questions about their local, where they're from, and then you use Alexa to actually answer the questions. Oh. So that was really cool too. So this company, they've taken like tech that's becoming very popular, and incorporating it into game, because they were like, people have this tech already at home. Let's find a way to actually use it in a way that the entire family can enjoy it. So it's like you can play, Beasts of Balance or When in Rome with the entire family or group of friends with technology you already have. So instead of it being like, Alexa, what's the weather look like? Which is fine, but if you've got one of those, Alexa smart home speakers, and you want to find a way to use it in a more advanced way, there you go. You can use it as a part of a tabletop game. So that was really cool. They were super nice. They're all from England, so they all have really nice accents. This was their first Gen Con. So they were excited and a little nervous to be showing at Gen Con for the first time. I was like, well, the crowds are gonna be like this. You guys picked a good time, first time, good year to come. And then I also talked to a gentleman from Upper Deck, which, even if you're not a gamer, everybody knows Upper Deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They've just been around for a bajillion years.
They've done baseball cards, basketball cards back in the day.
Exactly. And they still do that, but then they also do games, not, like some card games and RPGs and stuff like that. So he talked to me about all the stuff that they were showing. They're one of the ones that they get a big booth footprint every year. They're always towards the front, about the middle-ish, I guess, of the vendor hall, and they always theme their booth to something that they're pushing. That year, the first year I went as press, so 2 years ago, it was Big Trouble in Little China. And that actually matched the lanyard. They're always the lanyard like sponsor for your badges. So when you go pick up your badge and they give you a lanyard, they're usually the sponsor. Last year, the lanyard was Buffy, but the booth wasn't Buffy. I was kind of disappointed because I thought it was going to be Buffy. But it was actually it was their game on their own IP. Something about sharks. It was beach themed. And then this year was another new game that's their own IP. That it was themed to, which was way more subtle this year, which is not necessarily a bad thing, you know, so there's some sophistication in subtlety. So they were pushing that, or they were demoing that, and then they've got a new X-Files game, card game that we talked about. The lanyard was X-Files themed this year, so that was fun. And then mostly I was excited to hear him talk about their Marvel card games. I guess they've got a Marvel game and have had one for a while, but they had a new expansion which was a 10-year MCU like anniversary expansion. So it's got...
these are collectible card games, right, where you buy packs, or is it you get a set and that's it?
I think, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think so. I think you can do, because they've got several different, they're all part of the same larger, like, gameplay unit, but you can mix and match if you want to, because, like, they also have, like, a Spider-Man, one specifically Spider-Man Homecoming, but if you wanted to combine them, you could.
Okay, I was just curious because I know one of the X-Files card games I played way back was a collectible card game that kind of had its own rules, and you had to buy booster packs and all that to kind of form your decks. So I was just curious as to that.
Yeah. It's the their legendary gaming system is what it is.
Okay.
But he said, yeah, you could mix and match anything from the legendary, and it should work together. But he said that, you know, the MCU, the 10 years of the MCU's got all artwork from all the 10 years of the MCU. I asked about, you know, if the artwork was waterproof, so if I start drooling all over the pictures of, you know, Iron Man, he's like, well, we do sell protectors. I might need some. It's like, I don't know if I want to play the game. I may just sit and stare and drool all over the artwork. But
how much to get a nice big wall-sized hanging?
Yeah, really. It's like, can I just get these pieces just blown up into wallpaper? Por favor. They're like, ma'am, we're a gaming company. We're not home decor. But come on!
Oh, but you're missing a very hidden source of income.
Yeah, really.
Interior design.
Yes. Come on, you're missing out here. So he was super nice to talk to. I've got the entire interview with him recorded. And then one of the last things that I did was one of the panels, part of the puppeteering program, which was An Afternoon with Steve Whitmire.
Ooh.
Which, if you don't know, Steve Whitmire was I should say was. He no longer works with Disney and or Henson as of earlier this year, which we will not get into. If you want to Google it, you can go look it up. But he was Kermit the Frog, among others. He was the person who took over Kermit the Frog after Jim Henson passed away. When Jim passed away suddenly, Steve was the one who was hired. Although I won't say hired, because he already worked for Henson. He started working for Henson when he was 18.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
But he was the one that got, I guess, promoted into taking over for Kermit and other characters after Jim passed. So it was a fun Q&A type session with him talking about, Jim and his history with the Henson Company. The guy who was the moderator was really good about making sure, he's like, I don't want to ask questions that you could easily find answers to on the internet and Wikipedia and all that. So, like, one of the things he asked was, does he mow his lawn in lines back and forth or in a circle?
Oh, that's great.
Steve said he changes it up. He said he asked him if he had any nicknames. He said, funnily enough, his nickname in high school was Kermit.
Nice.
He said that Rizzo is his favorite to perform. On Fraggle Rock, Wembley, I think is the character's name. Yep. Is actually the most comfortable puppet to perform. Let's see. Somebody asked about his first performance on air on the Muppet Show, and he said he did a couple that didn't have lines, but his first Muppet that he performed that actually had lines was a guard outside of Liberace's dressing room. And he said that his first performance was actually really hard because he had to be mean to Jim, because Jim was playing Kermit trying to get into Liberace's dressing room, and he was a security guard telling Kermit that he could not come in. So that was his first on-air character. His first recurring character was Miss Piggy's dog Foo-Foo. And somebody asked about the suit that he wore to Jim Henson's funeral. It was a green suit. And if you've never seen Jim Henson's funeral, you can find video of it online. Be prepared to cry. But I guess Jim had made it known that, whenever he passed, that he did not want his funeral to be a big old, cry fest type thing. So Steve wore this green suit that it was a white suit that he's bought off the rack, took to the Muppet shop, and they dyed it in the same vat of dye they use for Kermit.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So that's how he ended up with a Kermit green suit for Jim Henson's funeral. So, but that was a fun panel. Steve he's a really cool dude. I saw him a few times over the course of the weekend, walking from one place to another. And honestly, if I didn't know who he was, I would think he was some like manager for like Motley Crue or something. He's just got this rocker, like old school rocker vibe to it. He's got long hair, jeans, graphic tee. with like a blazer on over it, and he's just kind of walking down the hall with his long hair just kind of flowing behind him. And he's like, it's like, you would not know that this is the man that was Kermit the Frog for the past like 30-something years, if you didn't know. So it was really cool. So that was kind of the last thing I did. I really did not want to push myself too early. So I actually ended up going home after not long after that. I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to overdo it. I'm going home.
Yeah, it's good not to push yourself at Gen Con, because
Yeah.
there have been years where I've pushed myself early and then was miserable the entire rest of the convention.
And
so
you kind of hate yourself.
exactly.
You regret your life
exactly.
choices. Like, why am I doing this to me? So at least you had the advantage of being in a hotel room.
Yeah, it did make it a little bit easier, and also it was so nice to, when I finished up my LARP at 10 o'clock at night on Thursday, instead of having to go hunt down the car and then go drive to my mom-in-law's house in Fishers, which we did last year, or drive all the way back to Bloomington like we did in 2015, I just went from Union Station to the Omni, took the elevator upstairs, and then flopped in bed. So it was so much nicer. Because, I mean, with living in Bloomington, yeah, you could technically commute to Gen Con, but I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least that way, too, is if you stocked up on goodies in the trade floor, you can
Oh,
go
yes.
up and
Exactly. We did that a couple times, too. I mean, most of the stuff we got at Gen Con was artwork, so it's not something we want to carry around a lot, so Ross and I would just would say, okay, let's get a couple of prints and then bring them upstairs. And so that's what we did. It worked out.
Yeah. So.
So how was your Friday of Gen Con?
Friday was slightly better.
That's good.
So,
My Friday felt rushed, but
yeah, Friday was definitely slightly better. The crowds did not seem as bad, which was good. Friday, I interviewed a gentleman from Fantasy Flight who was actually at the Asmodee Digital booth. And I interviewed him talking about the Lord of the Rings living card game. It's a digital game, but it's one of the first like Lord of the Rings like digital card games. And I'm a huge Lord of the Ring fanatic. I've read The Hobbit. I've tried to read Lord of the Rings. It's not an easy read.
no, I've read it myself, and it's not an easy read.
Yeah, the Hobbit's really easy, but Lord of the Rings not so much. But I love the world of Middle Earth and everything that Tolkien came up with. So the fact that they have developed a card game out of it, even a digital card game, but still with that particular property is just so ripe for the picking, because there is just so much to pick from. You know, if all you saw were the Peter Jackson movies, you do not realize just how much was not included as far as artifacts, characters, worlds, you know, all sorts of things. The stuff that was never even published in the books.
All the side stories. I mean,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
do a Google search of J.R.R. Tolkien on Amazon,
Yeah, I have.
be prepared for oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Ross has a whole shelf full of just every Tolkien book that he can get his hands on. He is like the biggest Tolkien nerd I've ever met, I think.
Yeah.
Aside from that guy who dressed up as Tolkien at Gen Con.
Yes. I saw his pictures today. I'm like, how did I not see him? That was
I
awesome.
ran into him every day at Gen Con somehow. I don't know how, but I did.
Yeah.
Like, I saw him even on Wednesday, and I'm like, Ross, I think somebody's dressed up as Tolkien. He's like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, I had Gollum in his pocket.
My precious.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. I wish I'd seen him.
I have pictures. Well, you've probably seen pictures, but I have a picture of him.
Yeah.
And he was very friendly, too. So
That's good. That's good. So that was fun. I got to try the game. I won, or completed, like, the first mission, or, like, the first, like, task or whatever, and then got to the second task, which involved the spiders, and I was like, no, I'm done. So...
Nope.
Nope. I was like, I love the Lord.
I'm right there with Ron Weasley. Why does it have to be spiders?
Yeah, it's like, I'm all for Lord of the Rings.
You may be friendly, but nope.
Yeah, it's like, give me trolls, give me orcs, give me whatever, but not
spiders. Give me the Eye of Sauron. I'll fight the Eye of Sauron.
I will take on Sauron and Saruman, like, at the same time. And a whole horde of orcs before I will take on a spider. So
yeah,
it's like, no, thank you.
Nope.
He's like,
I'm done.
Yeah, he was like, no, that's totally okay. I was like, I'm done. But that was fun. And then probably really my highlight of the day on Friday was getting to meet Carol Spinney.
Oh, I bet. I'm jealous.
Yeah, so I went over to the puppet program table where he was doing an autograph session. So I got an autograph and a picture with him, and God love him. I watched his documentary earlier in the week. It's called I Am Big Bird. You can go find it on Amazon, I think, or iTunes. I don't remember where I saw it. But it's from 2014, so it's from 4 years ago. But unfortunately, since that documentary was filmed and released, and I don't know exactly the timeline, and I wasn't about to ask, but Carol, unfortunately, has come down with, and his wife told me the name, and I do not remember, but he has come down with a neurological disorder.
Okay.
So that he has trouble holding his head up, and his left arm is, I don't know how to best describe it. It kind of looks like Stephen Hawking. You know how Stephen Hawking's like one arm was like pulled in and kind of curled. Mm-hmm. Carol's like that, so he's not in the best of health. Mentally, he's still with it. You know, he's still aware of what's going on and what people are saying to him. His speech is impaired, unfortunately, but he can still speak. He can't really write that well. He had to have somebody help him do the autographs, taking like the cap off the Sharpie and that sort of thing. He can still write his name. It's slow, but he can still write it, which is good. But it's kind of sad because I just watched this documentary from 4 years ago where he was still doing Big Bird, you know, and he was pushing 80 then.
Oh wow!
And still doing Big Bird, almost on a regular basis. He had, you know, there was someone who would come in and, you know, take over when he got tired, but for the most part, he was just still doing Big Bird. To now where, you know, his health has just gone downhill. It was a bit sad to see that happen to him, but, you know, he still seemed to enjoy being there. His wife, Deb, sweetest lady on the planet. It was so nice to talk to her, you know, and I got the autograph. He had all sorts of, you know, prints, pictures of him, you know, with Big Bird or with Oscar. I got one that's him with Big Bird and Oscar. There were a couple that are his drawings. He used to be a really great artist. So I had him sign that, and then I you know, paid to get the picture as well. And it's me with the Duff Door. I was like, I don't have a puppet, but I do have a bear. So I plopped the Duff Door on the table there, kind of in between me and Carol, and Carol went and grabbed the Duff Door's paw, and he just kind of perked up grabbing him. The people, his wife was like, "There you go," and the guy taking the picture, he was like, "Oh, this is great," and his wife was excited to see him perk up a little. It's like, yeah, it's something small and fuzzy. It's like something familiar for him. They're like, yeah, he knows the familiar feeling of a loved fuzzy animal, I guess.
And that picture turned out great.
Yeah. Well, the guy took like 6 of them on my phone. But they all turned out essentially the same. So they took them really in close succession. But that was kind of the highlight of my day, was getting to meet Big Bird. So, getting his autograph and getting his picture. And I did a handful of demos. I did one called The River, which is made by the same company that I'm blanking on their name, but it's the same company that makes Ticket to Ride.
Oh, and I know which one you're talking about, too, and I can't remember.
Yeah, if you've ever played any of the Ticket to Ride games, this is kind of a similar idea where you have resources, and there's you have like a map you've got to follow. In this case, it's along a river instead of along a bunch of railroad tracks. And there are specific tasks that you can pick up that will earn you bonus points if you complete those tasks by the end of the game. There's other things you can do to collect points. And you just you follow this river on your game, on your specific game mat along with the bigger game board. And once you reach the end, you get so many points, and then you look at your bonus tasks, and there's ways to get bonus points, and there's other ways you can get extra points, and whoever has the most points at the end wins. So it's very similar gameplay to Ticket to Ride, just a different setup. Instead of trains, you're building buildings with different resources along this river. So that was kind of fun. We have a version of Ticket to Ride. It's the Europe one, I think, which I've played a couple of times. So I was somewhat familiar with those kind of game mechanics. It started out a little slow, but once we got into it, it really started to pick up, and I think I tied for first place when we were at the end, when we got to the end of our demo. I don't know how I did that, but I did. And then I did a couple of demos outside of the convention center that was actually a press invite from a company called Paradox Interactive, which, if you're press for Gen Con, you will get emails throughout the year from some of the companies. You will end up on their PR lists, and that's fine. But about 6 to 8 weeks before Gen Con, whatever email address that Gen Con has for you will start getting lots of messages from pretty much every company that is showing up to Gen Con going, "Hey, we're coming to Gen Con. We're going to be at booth blah, blah, blah. Come check out these half a dozen games that we're bringing with us." Yep. Sometimes it's like, email us back if you'd like to set up a time. Sometimes it's, hey, just stop by and check out our stuff. But every now and then you will get, and I've had this happen last year and again this year, where you will get an email from a company saying, "Hey, we're going to be showing off something at this restaurant. We'll feed you. Would you like to come check it out?" And I'm like, you had me at food.
And note, if you want to read the emails carefully.
Yes. It's like, if you're willing to take time to leave the convention center for, including your travel time and the time you're there, and most of them, it's about an hour, the event, so then you got to factor in your travel time, which they always try to be as close to the convention center as possible. The one I went to last year was at RAM, which is at the far end of Georgia Street over by Banker's Life, so that's a bit of a walk, but the food was good, so and it was interesting to do, because that was my first time ever doing anything like that. This year it was Paradox Interactive, and they were at the Spoke and Steel, which is a restaurant near Le Meridian, which is right near Circle Center Mall. And it was in their private dining room, essentially. So it was a really short walk. But I tried out their games called Crusader Kings and Europa Universalis. I'm probably butchering that. They were European. They were a European gaming company, so had kind of thick accents. But if you've ever played anything like Risk or Axes and Allies, where it's a more drawn out strategy battle, taxing people to help build up your army, people can come and invade your country and that sort of thing, or try to overthrow the throne. Those longer foreign games where you could sit and play a game for 3, 4, 5 hours in a single campaign or a single game sitting. These are probably up your alley. These were kind of fun because I've never played Risk and I've never played Axis and Allies, but Chauncey plays both. So I'm somewhat familiar with them just by watching him play them. One of the biggest game mechanics with these that I don't think some of those others have is the inclusion of marriages. Where you play like at least with Crusader Kings, which is actually based off it's based off of a game. I think it was just a card game, but now it's like a map-based card game with other elements too. And I think it was a video game at one point too. Each of us was a king, and we had to go through and get married, and we had a bunch of eligible women that we could pick from, and they had different attributes, and some of them were good, some of them were bad. One of the guys ended up marrying a woman who her biggest attribute was she was an imbecile.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that can have effects down the line, and then you can have children, and the children have traits, and depending on the children's traits are good or bad, you may need to, figure out ways to change the line of succession so that, the throne doesn't go to a child with a bad attribute and that sort of thing. But then you also can build up castles, and people can invade you, and you can tax the people and that sort of thing. And then the Europa is kind of the same, but just a different time period. The Crusaders is Regency era, and then the Europa one is still ancient Europe, but not as old. And both of them were still demo versions, like the cards. They said that the Crusader Kings ones, the cards, they're going to reprint those because they realize that they're too dark and kind of hard to read. So they didn't have all the game pieces and stuff. So they were demos. These were not production ready, retail ready versions. But it was kind of fun. I mean, if I had people near me that were, gamers and wanted to play stuff like that, where, if they wanted to come over for, a half a day, like a Saturday or Sunday, and wanted to play a game that lasted 3 or 4 hours, I would totally be down for something like that, or Risk or something. But unfortunately, we don't live near anybody that wants to do that sort of thing. Chauncey always plays Risk at Christmas time. Maybe one of these years I'll ask to join in, because they tend to have they play Risk on New Year's Eve, and we go out. We go to the folks' New Year's Eve party, and him and his friends get together, and they like jump into a game of Risk as soon as we get there, and the games last for like 3-4 hours. So maybe one of these years I'll jump in, and I may have him teach me before though, so that they're not like, why is she playing? She doesn't know how.
Also, it's a game like I wanted to play, but one I've never like no one around me knew how to play, or just it seemed too daunting. But like
yeah, it's like some of the most popular games that you see at something like Gen Con are things like your D&D and your Settlers of Catan and stuff like that, where they are games that can go on for hours, days, weeks, you know, if you get a campaign or a storyline going. And, you know, I know LARPs are the same way, where, you know, you get a character and you can play that same character for forever. I know Beth has got her character, her LARP character that's got, you know, attributes and everything.
Oh yeah, she's got some history.
Yeah. So, and then the crossplay contest was kind of my last thing that I did on Friday, which is always fun. It's a lot smaller than the cosplay contest, but to me it's a bit more laid back than the cosplay contest. So it was fun. It's always fun to see what people come up with as far as their costumes. Some take it very literally. Sometimes they will do, so, you know, some people will draw, you know, if they're female, they'll dress as a character that's opposite gender. I know one of the winners was the head of Richard Nixon. Which I think is from Futurama, I think.
Yeah, it's from Futurama.
Yeah. And then there's some people that they do gender bends instead. But they kind of let anything go as far as the crossplay contest is concerned. It's just a lot of fun. The winners, they get badges for, usually a badge for next year, a 4-day badge for next year's Gen Con. So,
I should tell Ross about that, considering for his Friday and Saturday cosplay, he dressed as Star from Star versus the Forces of Evil, complete with dress and wig and everything.
Yeah,
he makes it very pretty.
Well, and you were cross dressed too. You guys should have entered.
That's right. I was dressed as Marco. So yeah, because we did Marco and Star on Friday, at least until I had to go change for another LARP. And nobody could tell I was Marco, though, because I was just wearing a sweatshirt and jeans. But that's what Marco wears. I put the mole on. But, yeah, maybe we'll do that next year. Maybe we'll pull out Marco and Star. Maybe I'll dress up. There's one episode of Star versus the Forces of Evil where Marco dresses as a girl, and his princess name is, you're going to laugh, Princess Turdina. So next year maybe I'll dress as Princess Turdina, as Margot cross-dressing as a girl. I'll be a girl cross-dressing as a guy cross-dressing as a girl. I'll make it work.
First for me. I'll cheer for you. So, and then I went home because, again, I was tired.
Yeah. I'm learning I shouldn't fill my Gen Con with so many long games, because my Thursday from 4 to 10 was eaten up by running a LARP. My Friday from noon to 6 was eaten by playing in a LARP, which was a really fun one. A couple of my friends, run Phoenix Fire LARP. That's their LARPing group. They're the ones that I went and did the City of Heroes one that we did, Return to Paragon City. And they have one that they ran last year called Showdown in Sacramento. It's a paranormal Wild West LARP, where they call it Weird West, where it's like the Gold Rush era. But what if the Gold Rush era also had people who were mages and vampires and werewolves and fae? And so it was really interesting, really well done. So like there's a little bit of a steampunk element to it. Steampunk translates to the people who wear steampunk outfits translate to the magic users of the world. And so I got to be a magic user named Lucina Finch, and I owned a gold mine, and I had machines mining gold for me because it's safer than putting humans in a mine. But we had lots of fun. There was a little bit of a combat element to it because, oh no, brigands are raiding the mines. We've got to get them out of there. And it was a lot of fun. Granted, it must have went really well last year too because the game sold out within like a half an hour of event tickets going up. Like I couldn't even get into it at first, and thankfully it's good that I know the people running it because they said even if we don't get more tickets, buy a bunch of generics, we'll get you in. but yeah, so it was so much fun. Hopefully they do it again next year. Maybe Gen Con will give them even more tickets because they started out with 20 and had to ask for 10 additional tickets, and that's how I got in there. And so, yeah, we had 30 people, and it was fantastic. So, but yeah, that and wandering around in costume was in the morning was my Friday. And after 6 hours of LARPing, I'm like, I need food, and then I'm going back to the hotel room. Yeah. So I had dinner with my nerdy mom-in-law and my nerdy brother-in-law. We all had dinner together and talked about all the fun, geeky stuff we did that day. I mean, my mom-in-law, to give you an idea of how awesome she is, she dressed up as Derpy Hoops for Gen Con a couple years ago.
Nice.
I lucked out in the mother-in-law department with Ross's mom. She's a fantastic lady. I love her to pieces. If she's listening, hi, Moogie, I love you. But, and yeah, she's a Star Trek nerd too, hence the nickname Moogie, but I digress. I'm tired. My brain is going off on all sorts of bunny trails. But yeah, so Friday was mostly just wandering around as Marco, and then wandering around in steampunk and mining for gold and political intrigue and all this fun stuff, and then food, and then back to the hotel room.
Oh, and then Saturday, which was
Saturday
was cosplay day.
Saturday was cosplay day. Like the first person I ran into in my Sailor Moon cosplay was Rachel.
Yep.
So Sailor Moon and Miss Frizzle got a picture together.
Yes.
Cool.
So
Nice.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to cosplay at Gen Con, and then I was like, well, I don't have anything new. It's like, but Miss Frizzle, she went over so well last year. I'm like, I'll wear Miss Frizzle.
Everybody loves Miss Frizzle.
Everybody loves Miss Frizzle. So, and once again, everybody loved Miss Frizzle. So,
yeah, my favorite part about Saturday was being in the costume parade, and yeah, at that point, so it's like after 3:00, my feet are like screaming in pain, but as we're walking through the convention center, and all these people are lined up and filming, there's this little girl that I walk by, and her eyes just get huge, and she screams out, "Sailor Moon!" and starts flailing. She's like, "Oh my God, it's Sailor Moon!" She got so excited, and I waved at her, and she she was flailing.
She noticed me.
Yeah, it was just like that's the reason I cosplay, to make people smile, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I got lots of people would be like, "Sailor Moon, high five," and just like asking for my picture. But that little girl who just got so excited, she made my Gen Con.
Oh yeah, it's the little kid interaction that's some of the best, I think.
And being stuck behind Gandalf the dog for the costume. They were a schnauzer, I think, or some sort of
terrier.
Yeah,
it's a schnauzer. Yeah, if you ask anybody, cosplay win for the entire Gen Con apparently was Gandalf the Schnauzer.
Yes. I was behind him during the costume parade, and his owner would put him down every now and then. He'd take a few steps and then just stop. And then, so his owner would just like scoop him back up again and just tuck him under his arm or carry him in his arms like a baby. Yeah. We got to stop and pet him at one point. He was so adorable.
Yeah.
Instead of, "You shall not pass, I shall not walk."
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, you would think a dog would probably be not too thrilled by being surrounded by so many strange people, but no, Gandalf was chill. He's like, "Yep, I'm just gonna walk around here. I'm just gonna enjoy this. This is cool. I'm good with this."
Yeah. So, that's the sign. That's a sign of a well-trained service dog. So, is if they are not phased, because that means that they have been trained really well.
Exactly.
So if you see anyone who's got a dog, no, I don't necessarily want to, badmouth anybody, but as someone with a parent who has a service dog and therefore is familiar with the life of having a service dog, at least somewhat, if you see someone out and about with a dog that is not well behaved, granted, dogs can have their off day, if they're not feeling well or something, but still, there's a limit. If you see someone out and about with a dog that is not behaving and they claim it's a service dog, either that dog is not well or they are lying through their teeth.
Yeah. I've known people who are just like, oh, this is my service dog, and really it's just they bought it a vest off the internet and bring their pet everywhere. Yeah, that's not cool. Especially for the people who need service dogs. Yeah.
Don't ruin it for the people that genuinely do need a service dog.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
So.
Yep.
My little tangent there. So anyway, but yeah, no, cosplay day. Saturday was cosplay day, and that was awesome. It's also one of the most emotional days for me because that was also the other puppet program panel I did, which this one, the title of it was Honor That Bird.
I saw that.
Which was essentially the opposite of a roast. With Carol Spinney and his wife. And I had been getting the emails for anyone who had signed up, registered for that particular event. We got emails saying, if you have a message for Carol, please email it, send it in, and you may get the opportunity to read it out loud at the panel. And at the time, I could not think of anything, so I never did. But I got to the panel, and it started a little late. We were stuck waiting out in the hall for past the designated start time. I don't know what the delay was. I'm not going to ask. I didn't care. All I knew is I was in the room with Big Bird. So, but it was the most... I had no idea what I was getting myself in for, but it was the most emotional panel I think I've ever been to. It's all good, but everybody in the room essentially was in tears. They're all tears of joy, but still, it was like we were just... It was like a therapy session with everybody. It was like, oh, Big Bird did this for me, or Oscar did this for me, or what, what other characters he's done. But Big Bird and Oscar are kind of the two biggest ones, especially Big Bird. Has had such a significant impact on so many people of so many ages. And the whole thing was just, it was beautiful and heartfelt and emotional. And Stacy, who's the head of the puppet program, kind of led the panel, and she's like, I've got this stack of emails that people sent in, but for those of you that maybe didn't get a chance to send in something, we've got index cards. If you want to write out a message, please do so. We'll make sure that Carol and Deb get everything, whether you get a chance to read it out or not. Which was great. So I ended up writing out a message on index card, and we ended up getting a chance to get to the people who wrote on index cards and got a chance to read out their message right there to Carol and Deb. And they taped everything. I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't know if that's going to go somewhere, or if that's purely for Carol and Deb's, personal records. I would assume so. Just because, people's messages were very personal, including mine, which, I was like crying, and then I managed to compose myself, and then they called my name, and I got up there, and for like half a second standing in front of the microphone, I was okay, and then I started to read my message, and I'm like, I thought it was going to be okay, but I'm not. But it was just beautiful is what it was. And Deb and Carol, Deb was obviously moved and so grateful that everyone had all these great things to say, and Carol is even with his, he's slowed down because of the neurological issues, but, eventually he took off his sunglasses and was, trying to look people in, as best he could to their face as they were, standing up there at the microphone, and occasionally he would, say something in response. And actually Steve Whitmire kicked off the entire thing. Steve showed up for the very beginning and was the first person to try to say something, and he barely could. he was crying. He set us all off. And then proceeded to leave, probably because he couldn't take it. I don't know. He may have had something else to do. I don't know. But they ended up having to go get like boxes of tissue from somewhere in the hotel so we could pass around the tissue. You could just hear people blowing their nose and sniffling and dabbing their eyes. I'm like, I took all this time to do my Miss Frizzle makeup and I'm messing it up.
Good tears, happy tears.
Yeah, I mean they were all happy tears, but it was just I was not expecting to cry at a panel at Gen Con. So, but it was absolutely beautiful. So I'm so glad that I made that particular panel. And then I went to a panel called "Don't Be a Dick is Not a Code of Conduct."
Alrighty then.
Thank you, Will Wheaton.
Yes, essentially, if everyone knows Wheaton's law, it's "Don't be a dick." Essentially, is what it is. This was really what Wheaton's law is a good motto or a personal manifest, but it's not the be all to end all as far as like it was for people that organize any event organizers or people that do things online with like online forums or online groups, where you need to moderate people's communication with each other and what they post and that sort of thing. It was guidelines and suggestions for how to better flesh out your things like your actual code of conduct, your rules of engagement, either at an event or in an online, organized whatever. Facebook group or forum or message boards or that sort of thing. It's like, don't be a dick is a good place to start, but let's flesh it out a little better than beyond that.
If a brush fire happens to happen in a Facebook group and discussion gets heated, how do you step in and still follow rule number 1?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And it was funny because I got out of the Honor That Bird panel, and by then it's Saturday afternoon and 60,000 people at Gen Con, and I had managed to run into pretty much everybody I knew that was attending, except for Tony and Liz.
Oh,
at that point.
I ran into Tony and Liz in the dealer's hall on Saturday. Yeah, it was on Saturday because Liz almost didn't recognize me.
Yeah.
Because I was in Sailor Moon.
Yeah. So I ended up tweeting about it, and Tony tweeted me back. And he's like, don't be a dick at 1 o'clock, Shake Up's performance at 3. And I was like, wait a minute, I have a ticket for Don't Be a Dick. Oh, I'm going to go to the Don't Be a Dick panel at the very least so I can see Tony and Liz. So I walked in and they were sitting there and I was like, how did you know I had a ticket for this? He's like, I didn't. It was just coincidence. So I finally got to see Tony and Liz, which is the first time I've seen either of them since their incident over the 4th of July. So they were doing okay, all things considering. So it was good to just see them and see for myself that they were alive.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and hopefully at some point the cops will actually catch the so-and-so that literally hit them with a car.
Yeah,
So-
seriously. I hope that they catch that, whoever that was, because seriously, to hit somebody with a car and then run away, there must have been something up there, like an expired license or no insurance or something they felt like they needed to run from.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, not cool, man. Not cool.
Yeah, not cool.
don't hit people and then drive away. Don't hit
Seriously,
people would be the
no.
first thing, but if you do hit someone, don't drive away.
Exactly, because then it's just going to be worse when they catch up with you.
Yeah, yeah. Because not only do you have, like, you know, assault with a vehicle, but now you have leaving the scene of a crime.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and a car could be considered a deadly weapon.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say a car is a deadly weapon.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, don't be a dick.
Exactly.
Comes back to Wheaton's Law. Don't be a dick. Don't hit people with your car. Oh, and then I grabbed lunch, and then I went and got in my line for the cosplay contest. And one of the things they did for the cosplay contest this year, which was the first year they've done it, is it is now a ticketed event, which unfortunately not everyone got the memo. Because they were turning people away at the door who didn't have tickets and were very upset. Which, you know, I guess you have a right, but at the same time, it's like, if you're not reading any of the emails or social media posts, because they tried to post it as many places as possible, and you still didn't get the message. I mean, even if you didn't see the email or the social media post, if you went to the event catalog,
where you go, this is a ticketed event.
Where you go to check, even just to check the schedule, it says in the event description that it is now a ticketed event.
And I think it even said it on the sign for the costume contest, like the room where it was being held.
It even said so outside the room. Yeah. So you really, I'm sorry, but you don't really have an excuse.
Nope.
That being said, I did have a ticket, so that was not a problem. Even then, though, I'm glad that I went, and I missed the parade to go get in line, because I probably would have ended up even further back if I had waited to get in line, because I got in line a little after 3, and I ended up in the second to last row of the first section. In the room. So it ended up not filling up completely, though, and the VIP rows didn't even fill up completely. So if you didn't have a ticket, you could have gotten in. It was not at capacity. So although I heard stories that supposedly they were turning away people at the door anyway, and I don't know if that was just, I don't know if that's actually the case, or if the people manning the door didn't get wind that, hey, we actually have seats available, it's not full, or what. But it was not packed. There were still plenty of seats available, and good seats available, if you didn't mind coming in a little late. But once again, the cosplay contest, a highlight of the entire convention. Gen Con does, the people who cosplay at Gen Con really bring it. For a convention that's, quote unquote, not cosplay friendly.
Yeah, I know. I got a freaking award I got one of the Hall Awards for my Sailor Moon cosplay.
Yeah.
So
they try to be accommodating to cosplayers, and I think there are some people on staff that are fans of cosplay. The person in charge of Gen Con up through last year apparently was not a big fan of cosplay, and has always just kind of tolerated it as a thing at Gen Con. Apparently the guy in charge now is way more of a fan of cosplay. I'll have to find out from some of my friends when I see them at ITCE and get a better idea, feedback from them, what they felt the vibe was as far as cosplay friendliness. But the cosplay contest, the people that enter always are, some of the best, people that just do really great work. The pre-show entertainment, again, always great. Different drummer, belly dancers. Once again, were the pre-show entertainment. This year's performance was supernatural themed. So they had different dancers dressed up as Sam and Dean, of course. Castiel, Lucifer and Crowley. So, and they dance to different songs that have connections to Supernatural, including Carry On My Wayward Son. So that was fun. I'm still only one season into Supernatural, so I'm sure a lot of the references were lost on me. I'll get there eventually. Let me finish Clone Wars first.
I watched one episode, and then I got distracted by something else.
Yeah.
I know I need to watch Supernatural. So many of my friends watch it, and I'm like, I know these characters' names, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Word of advice, which I had given Rachel because I know she started, I want to say like episode 7, 8, or 9. Skip the first season if you have an aversion to bugs. The name is Bugs.
Okay.
It's what it's on the tin.
Okay.
Because later on they even make a joke apologizing for said bug episode.
Oh, goodness.
So, yeah. So you aren't going to miss anything if you skip over that one.
Okay.
I have watched it on a rewatch. Yeah, I could have skipped it, but...
Okay. Duly noted.
Yes. I just thought I'd give that little piece of advice. And Britt's nodding her head in agreement.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that episode, and
Yeah.
I'm not that, like, bugs don't ick me too much, but that, yeah.
That episode took the cake, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, there were some really good cosplays in the contest this year. The judges, had their work cut out for them in the different categories. They break them up into theme categories, so they do like fantasy, anime, video games, kids. They do a professional, and groups. They have like 7 or 8 different categories, and then they pick a winner from each of those categories. And then from those winners, they do a audience vote for like best in show. And then the judges, if they want to give out an award, they can. And then there's also the Golden Needle Award, which goes to the costume that they think shows the best construction techniques. So only one of the judges gave out an award. And she ended up actually winning in her category, too. It was a gal that did a Mandalorian Penelope von Schweet.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
Yeah, I think I saw her. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so... Which, where I was sitting in the audience, I could see and I could totally get it. It wasn't until afterwards and I saw her up close and I'm like, oh my God, that is so good. So, all the little details and everything. So she ended up walking away with 2 awards. So, which was really cool. So, and then my friend Lisa won 2nd place in her category for her Sith Maleficent.
Right.
So you can look her up. Her cosplay is Lady Dragon Creations. She's got pictures. And then our friends over at Sewing is Half the Battle won in the group category for their Dirk Gently group. So,
cool.
Which I don't know anything about Dirk Gently, but they did a whole skit for theirs, which was quite funny. So, and I've got video actually their entire skit, so I can post that so people can see it. It's always fun to watch. It's even more fun when people I know, win. I can cheer for them when they call them to come out on the stage, and I'm like, yay, I know that person. And then when they win, I'm like, yay, I know that person. So, and then I went home.
And then I went home.
Because I was tired.
Yeah. My Sunday was really boring and quiet in comparison to all the rest of the days at Gen Con. I did one event. I wandered around the dealer's hall after packing up my hotel room for like maybe an hour and a half, and then I went home.
Yeah.
I realized that after 3 days of like walking around, well, 3 days of walking around the convention center. And gosh, I think from Wednesday through Saturday, I must have walked like 20-something miles just at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that after all that activity and after all that excitement, getting up for a 9 a.m. crocheting event, like a crocheting workshop, not the best idea. The Crafty Nerd forgot how to read crochet for a little bit. I'm like, is this UK terms or American or what double crochet do you want me to do here? How do I do this again? What's my name? Yeah, it was embarrassing. I'm like, how could I not do this? I'm the Crafty Nerd. I do this for a living.
Caffeine.
I needed more caffeine than the 1 cup of coffee and half cup of tea I had, so... Yeah, note to self, no early morning Sunday events. But yeah, I learned how to crochet a dragon scale shawl. Oh, not shawl. A cowl, and then I spent money in the dealer's hall, and then I went home. So my Sunday was short.
Yeah, mine kind of was too. I thought about not going at all. To be honest with you,
that's what I did. I think I did that. Yeah, I think I did that last year. I think Ross and I were just so tired, we're just like, screw it, let's just sleep in and then eat breakfast and go home.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
Yeah, I really thought about not going, but then I was like, no, because there's a few more things that I haven't seen yet that I wanted to get to. So I was like, but I slept in a little bit and I took my time getting down there. So I wasn't like rise and shine like I had been every morning before that. It was like, I'll get there when I get there, whatever. So I did go down Sunday and went back in the dealer's hall and made my one purchase. Now my one other purchase, I should say, my biggest purchase besides the Carol Spinney autograph and photo. I bought a couple of books from the Who North America booth at the beginning of the con, but they were like $5 a piece. They had gotten a huge pile of vintage Doctor Who books, a whole bunch of them are Target novelizations that they had got from an estate.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
The person had them.
That Instagram post, and it's like,
yeah,
gimme.
Yeah. I saw those, and I'm like, where have you guys been hiding these? And they're like, oh, we just got them like last week. I'm like, okay. I'm glad to know that you weren't like holding out on me. I kind of want all of them.
How can I distract you so I can abscond with them?
Yeah, really. It's like, I kind of want all of these, but I'm going to be good. And I bought one. I bought the Target novelization of the 2 Doctors because I'm 6-Doctor, multi-Doctor story trash. And then I bought this book about like the making of Doctor Who, but it was written and published during Tom's era. So it only goes through like the 4th Doctor's era. So, although I think it's funny because I did flip through the book. I haven't actually had a chance to read it, but I did flip through it, and like towards the end of the book, it's like, you know, something about how Doctor Who has made its mark in you know, television history or whatever, and with any luck, it will continue on. And I'm like, you have no idea.
No idea.
When you read that book, so yeah. But it'll be interesting to see what, you know, they consider the history of Doctor Who at that point. So, and I don't think they sold, you know, I'm sure they still have a lot of those Target novelizations that they just went back to the shop after the convention was over. So if you go visit Who North America and you want to get some Target novelizations of classic Doctor Who, there you go. Head over to North America. So, but then my one other purchase was a shirt from Tea Turtle. So,
yay, Tea Turtle.
it's the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Cool.
So,
oh, my purchases at Gen Con, I didn't get a lot of stuff, but I spent a stupid amount of money on one thing that I'd been wanting to get for a long time. A kilt.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
I bought a Utilikilt, and
Cool.
I wore it when I wasn't in costume. I was wearing that around the convention center, and it's the pockets go down to my knees.
Ooh,
And I mean,
nice.
yeah, I'm short, but still, pockets that go down that far are pretty impressive on anything. So, and it just makes me feel cool wearing a kilt. So, yeah, but I also bought a cute little book. It was Star Trek TNG cats. So it's an illustrated. It's like all of the TNG characters as cats. They even did Q. They even did the illustrated versions of the characters from the episode where like a couple of them turned into kids. I think it was like Picard, Ensign Rowe, Guinan, and Keiko were all kids. They did tiny kitten versions. It was adorable. Cute. But yeah, and then Spot was actually in the front in the dedication.
Oh, cool.
Super cute. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. We talked to the person running the booth, who was a friend of the illustrator, and she said that the only thing that CBS and Paramount said for this book, they said you have to, if you use any text, it has to be lines from the TV show, and you cannot change them. So it's any text that's in the book is just quotes directly from the show, and she did a great job catifying all of the characters. Like there's even a tiny Wesley Crusher cat in there somewhere. And I only bought one game at Gen Con, which is sad compared to last year. I went with the cat theme, and I got this cute little game called Action Cats, which is where the game comes with a deck of cards. It's all every card has a picture of a different cat on it. And so the judge picks picks one cat from their hand and says, okay, we're going to tell a story about this cat. And on the back of each of the cards, there's two different halves. There's one half, which is the beginning of a sentence, and then the other half is the end of a sentence. You can kind of mix and match them and tell stories about all these cats. And if you're feeling creative, you can take the lines that people come up with and go even further with them and tell really silly stories about cats. And it's like I've got real tired of Cards Against Humanity, especially. It's just like the core deck of Cards Against Humanity. I've played it so many times that I know everything, and it's not quite as funny anymore. But Action Cats, how can you not have fun with cute kitty cats? And they had a deal at Gen Con where if you bought, you could get one of the expansion decks and get the second for free. So I got the kitten deck, which has all the blank card backs where you can write in your own thing, and the Gamer Cat deck, which the Gamer Cat expansion deck, which is all cats playing like Nintendo Switch and walking around in the middle of minis and stuff while somebody's playing D&D, and just all sorts of cute gaming cat pictures. So and we got some prints, and so that was my Gen Con haul. Not super big this year, but that kilt took out like most of my Gen Con budget. But I don't care. I love it. I might even wear it to work one of these days.
There you go.
That's the nice thing about working in IT, though, is we can wear stuff like that. Nobody bats an eye.
Exactly. I mean, I see people with all sorts of colored hair at the CIB and the cyber infrastructure building, my office building, and
you should not have a problem with a kilt.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a mini kilt either. Like I've seen elsewhere. It's this one goes down to about my knee, down a little bit past my knees. It's a kilt, and it's nice.
And a kilt with pockets, even
a
better.
Yes, a kilt with pockets, and it's great. And like Utilikilt has some of the ones where the pockets are on the outside, where they're a little bit more obvious. These are ones that are like pant pockets where they're a little less obvious. So it's
basically kind of like the Highlander version of the magic pocket, where they stick the sword and then voila. Fight.
Exactly. My kilt has magic pockets. I'm just gonna roll with that.
It's part clothing, part TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside.
There you go. Exactly.
There you go. I don't know about you, Rachel, but I'm starting to fade. I'm getting tired.
Yeah. Just talking about everything, we're getting tired again.
Exhausted listening to your adventures, but awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Well, we've been at it for 2 hours, so yeah. I think
tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think we've covered pretty much everything, though. So
yeah, I think we have. And I'm the crazy one that gets to the office at 7 in the morning. So
yeah, you are crazy.
yeah. Well, it with Ross getting up at 5 so he can drive up to Indy to work, I get woken up by him anyway. So I'm like, well, may as well make myself useful and go to the office early. So
yeah, that's true.
But
that is very true. So, but we'll put links to as much as we can in the show notes. All the different companies and stuff and games and that sort of thing. And because this episode is so long as it is, I think all the interviews that I have recorded are going to go up as their own thing. So,
side trip.
yeah. We'll make it a little extra squee that way if people really want to hear me talk about drooling on Upper Deck's Marvel games, then you can hear that. So stay tuned to the feeds for that. That'll be a nice little extra thing too, because we will be off next week while Rachel takes a much needed vacation. So I'm going off the grid and taking some much needed time to rest and recuperate, because this month has been nuts and it's not done yet, because we got this, and then in a couple weeks is my double dose of cons with the Indie Disney meet, and then ITCE the very next day. So
Rachel's gonna be a busy girl.
A little bit. A little bit. So in the meantime, y'all listening to this, if you want to hear all the interviews I got from Gen Con, watch this space for a separate download and or video on YouTube, wherever you decide to partake of our stuffs. And of course, you can find links to everything on our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com. So there you find links to all our social medias. Make sure, you can go to our social media now, see everything I posted on Instagram from Gen Con, so you can see somewhat of what we just talked about. I will also make sure to post our pictures on our Facebook page, all the pictures I took. I also have video that I need to edit and put together. I'll try to do that maybe while I'm on vacation. Maybe that'll be a rainy day activity. Edit the video. I won't have internet, so I can't upload it, but I could at least edit it, possibly. Got to use that degree in video editing for something. So, so yeah, just to watch our YouTube page for uploads, and our Facebook page for pictures, and obviously I will post on our social media at both of those cons later in the month. There's also links to the Goodreads book club, so you can join if you... We don't have any Target novelizations in any of the polls for the book club, but if we ever get around to it, you can go pick some up at North America.
Yeah, there are a couple of the newer Target novelizations on this month's book poll.
Yeah, no, these are vintage.
Vintage, that might be a slight problem.
Yeah. Or maybe if you just want to read a vintage Target novelization and talk about it in the book club,
that's fine.
You could do that too. So go to Who North America.
Start a discussion, and we'll join in.
Yes. I will take my copy of The Two Doctors with me and then write about it in the Goodreads book club. So.
And then when you get around to the one with the filming of the Tom Baker season, I'd be interested in hearing all about that too.
Yeah. So there's that. There's also the link to our Patreon. So if you want to financially support us, you can do that via Patreon or our Amazon affiliate link. And I need to update the website still. Did I take that off? I don't remember. Our merch is changing.
Oh, it is?
Yes. Something happened with our merch provider that I would say I would not get into, but I actually don't know the story. Just something happened and they're now not available. So I'm looking into alternatives, and once I think I've found one. So once I get that all set up, because I got to do all the paperwork and account set up and everything, but once I get that set up, we will once again have merch available for people to purchase.
Gotcha.
So
let me know who you guys end up going with, Rachel, because originally I was going to use the same company you guys were using.
Yeah.
And then they never got back to me, and then apparently disappeared off the face of the planet. So
yeah. I had no idea, but thanks to Tony for the heads up.
I have a possible suggestion that I would say after we're done recording.
Okay. Sounds good. So, again, watch this space for news, announcements, all that. Probably after I get back from vacation. So, with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Beth saying goodnight.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you again for having me.
Get some sleep.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at the5ishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by their respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you'd like to support the show, the best and easiest way is to leave us a rating and review on iTunes. More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at Patreon at patreon.com/5ishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to help keep the show going. For official Five-ish Fangirls merchandise, visit mymerch.us. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/5ishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you all on the next episode.